Welcome to our first of 6 videos on 360 Media about FL Studio. In this video, I'll show you how to set up a new track, start from scratch. We're going to set up the project. After using FL Studio for more than 10 years, I've learned an efficient way of making a beat by setting up the project starting from the end. Why do we start from the end? To save time. So I'm going to show you a new way of setting up a beat. This is my way. Everyone has their own way, but try this. It will be much faster. First of all, when you start FL Studio, go to New, set up a new blank project. When you open a new project in FL Studio, it will look like this. These are the default instruments that FL Studio 13 sets up for you when you start a new project, a blank project. And in order for you to use FL Studio, there are 5 things you have to know. The 5 most important things you have to know are in the top right hand corner. The first, it's a symbol of a rising step. This is the playlist. It's written here, denoted by this. When you click on this, you get the playlist. Now the playlist is the most important thing in FL Studio. This is where you lay out all your beats, you lay out all your tracks, your vocals are recorded here. Basically, this is where you organize your track. Okay, this is the playlist. That's why it's the first on these instruments, because it's so important to know about the playlist. If you don't know about the playlist, you can't set up your track. You can't know how long you want your track. Okay, secondly, let's move on to the next. The channel rack. In previous versions of FL Studio, it was referred to as the sequencer. But the channel rack, a simple explanation for the channel rack is this is where you keep the instruments that you want. It's like a container for the instruments you want to use in your project. So if you want an instrument, you drag it to the channel rack and it will be saved as part of the instruments in your project. This is where you keep all the instruments, plugins that you want to use on your beats. Okay, the channel rack. Then the piano roll. The piano roll is where you set up the actual sound. It's called the piano roll because it has the keys of the piano. Now, when using this piano roll, the main thing you have to know is C5 is the optimum, or it's how the instrument would sound naturally. Let me say this kick at C5, this is a natural sound of the kick. The higher you go on the piano roll, the higher the pitch goes, and the lower you go below C5, the deeper the pitch becomes. So we're going to be making this beat without a MIDI keyboard. So those of you who don't have MIDI keyboards, you don't need to worry, you won't be needing them. Then let's move on to the next. The next one is the browser. The browser is where all the instruments that ship with FL Studio stay. It's where all the plugins stay. If you want any instruments, you come to the browser, you come to the packs, you listen to the instruments that you want. All the instruments live in the browser, and there's so many that a quick way, a short way of browsing through the instruments is use the down arrow on your keyboard to scroll through the instruments on your browser. To repeat a sound that you like, press the forward key on the directions on your keyboard and you continue scrolling. If you find an instrument that you like, you hold down button on your mouse and drag it to the channel rack. Then let's move on. The last thing you have to know is the mixer. The mixer is where you add plugins to channels. It has the master and channels. You can send each individual instrument to the mixer where you add a plugin to it. Okay, alright, thanks. That was a brief introduction to FL Studio, and don't forget, up here, these 5 things are the most important things in FL Studio. 1. The playlist. 2. Channel rack. 3. Piano roll. 4. The browser. 5. The mixer. Once you learn and master these 4 parts, you will have mastered FL Studio. So don't forget, we'll be using these 5 elements throughout these videos. So just get a hold of them and just know what each does and how you can use it.